Hey guys, Thickless Cage here. Normally my channel is about gaming guides. I have a few video editing guides as well. Today we're gonna do something just a little bit different. I'm gonna show y'all how to make crispy chicken thighs on the stovetop and then finish them in the oven. So I got my chicken thighs right there, right there actually, that I deboned myself because the grocery store here doesn't do it. Anyway, that's my daughter yelling at me. See y'all in a second. All right, to start off, we have a completely cold pan. And yes, my hands are washed, okay? Everything's clean, sanitized. Completely cold pan. I'm going to place my chicken thighs, skin down. Once again, cold pan. I haven't salted the skin yet. There's no seasoning on here yet. That's because I want the skin to render out by itself. Doesn't need the power of salt to pull out moisture or anything. I'm also putting the skin of the chicken thighs that I cut off, the extra skin, in the pan because I also want that to get crispy. It'd be a nice little additive. So here's where I'm gonna turn my pan on, probably a medium low. We want the fat to render out slowly from the chicken. And a nice low heat is gonna allow us to do that. All right, so remember how I mentioned that I'm not gonna salt or season the skin yet, but this is a great time to season the actual meat. We're gonna get our salt and pepper out. I'm a really salt and pepper kind of guy. So if you wanna use anything else, feel free. When the fat does start rendering out of the skin, I am gonna throw some garlic cloves in there to just kind of perfume the oil and flavor the chicken just a little bit. I'm using kosher salt here, nothing too crazy. You can use table salt if you want, whatever you got. And pepper. I don't think there's anything that I don't put pepper on. Something to note here, I really suggest a heavy bottomed pan. I'm using an all-clad, I think it's 3 or 5 ply layers of stainless steel. I could be wrong about this, but this is going to help slowly heat up and retain its heat for longer. And it's gonna really help create a nice crispy skin. So while we wait for this to cook, don't touch it, don't move it. When the skin is ready, or when the chicken is ready to be flipped, it'll let you know more or less by, you can kind of shimmy the chicken a little bit, and if it releases from the pan, you can flip it. Do not touch it until then. Maybe just a little bit with your tongs or something to kind of see, but do not force it. We do finally have some bubbling happening. That means the fat is starting to render out. So don't touch them. Kind of another indicator of when they might be ready to be flipped is the edges of the chicken skin start to get brown. And I mean, not just light brown, we want a little bit of color to them. Here's a little close-up of our chicken so far. Like I mentioned, there's some bubbling action going on. So we are well on our way to deliciousness. All right, maybe 10 minutes later or so, we got some real good bubbling happening. This is when I'm gonna actually add my whole cloves of garlic. I did peel them, but for the most part I left them whole because I don't want them to burn. So now we have some oil in the pan and the garlic will kind of saute and release some of its delicious garlicky-ness. The skin has released more of its fat and my garlic cloves are in here. You know, they're kind of sweating out, if you will. I'm gonna check this thigh here, this guy. I can see it's brown on this edge a little bit. I'm gonna pick up a corner and it's still sticking. It hasn't completely released yet, especially right here. So that means just let it go. Like I said, when it's ready to be flipped, we'll know because this will release from the pan. All right, so this really is a labor of love because we're about 20 minutes in. This guy right there, not even releasing in the least bit. So that means we still gotta wait, we still gotta have patience. Still can't force anything, don't touch it too much. Every so often I have been moving my pan up and down, kind of tilting it a little bit to get some fresh new oil in places. And that way the oil that is perfumed by the garlic is kind of distributed throughout the cook process. As you can see, we're starting to get some color on our garlic, so that's nice. All right, we are 25 minutes in. Everything is still pretty well stuck to the bottom of the pan. Once again, that is just fine. We are well on our way still, so let's keep going. All right, I think we're about 30 minutes in. I'm actually going to remove my garlic cloves now because I think they've served their purpose. I could also use these for like a pan sauce later. They're pretty soft, so like the garlic is cooked. We're also still waiting for some releasage here. This one is definitely not ready. Yep, still pretty hard to pull there. And I don't want to touch this one too much because we're still sticking pretty heavily in the center. All right, so we're actually at the point where we can start agitating the chicken just a little bit. I would say we're almost 40 minutes in at this point, and we can check to see what's releasing and what isn't. So this one actually released by itself. We got some pretty decent coloring on there. I do want more. It is actually crispy. I'm dragging my tongs on it, and it's actually crispy, so that's good. Check out these. Yep, this is still stuck right here. I can't get it up. And this one also the same. I am seeing some browning on the edges though, so that's nice. The chicken isn't exactly going to dry out, but after almost 45 minutes of cooking, we may start get some dryage here, and we don't want that, right? So remember how I said don't touch them until they release by themselves? Well, we're going to kind of help it along just a little bit by getting our tongs, whatever kind you have. We're going to lift up and try and kind of shimmy our tongs underneath just a little bit. I've also moved my pan to have the heating element basically right here because this one isn't browning as fast as I'd like. So I want a little bit more attention on this guy here. So like I mentioned, I'm kind of helping these thighs along by gently lifting up and seeing if we can get some of that fat underneath the stuck part of the skin, and it will help it cook faster. But I'm being very gentle. I'm just lifting up and trying to help it release a little bit. Still pretty stuck, as you can see. The pan is shaking when I try to lift up, but we're getting there. Also, the one that has fully released is starting to get more color. All right, just checking again a few minutes later. This guy is still nice and loose, still getting brown. Let's check here. There's a little bit of splatter. Don't put your head too close like I just did. It needs just a little bit of help on the back side here. I'm gonna stick my tongs underneath and kind of continue to pry. I can feel it's crispy. Some gentle pulling, and she released. Look at that. Look at that. Nice and crispy. So I'll actually let these cook on this side a little bit. Yeah, nice and crispy. I've now flipped everything over to the meat side so that side cooks. I want just a little bit of color on that as well. I will transfer the chicken to a little baking sheet. That way we can throw it in the oven at about 350 and let it finish cooking. This is now a great time to season with salt and pepper as well on this side. And into a 350 oven we go until they're done. I honestly don't know how long it's gonna take. I just look at them, maybe temp them, and we go from there. So this part isn't necessary, but I think I'm going to make a little red wine sauce to go on top of the chicken, maybe underneath it. I'm not too sure. But I'm gonna take my skin tidbits, which as you can hear and see are pretty crispy. Put those off to the side. So I have about a cup of a Cabernet Sauvignon that I got from Sam's Club. Doesn't have to be fancy. I think this was maybe a $10 bottle of wine. Throw this inside the pan and let it deglaze. I'm actually gonna get a wooden spatula out. A flat-rimmed or flat-edged spatula would work better here. That way there's more surface area to scrape off the brown bits from the bottom, but this will do. Okay, we're just gonna scrape until it's all up. All right, our brown bits are all scraped off the bottom, and now we're going to put this bad boy on high, and we're going to just let the wine reduce, cook the alcohol out of it. I think I'll add just a little bit of chicken stock and then some butter at the end to finish it off. I probably have some parsley lying around that I might throw in here too. I'm not sure. I'm not much of a sauce making guy. So, remember those garlic cloves from before? Oh, well, oh, that one wanted to be in there early. I'm actually gonna grate these on a microplane. You could use a garlic press, you could use your knife, whatever. I'm gonna run my knife through them. All right, so our wine is well on its way to reducing. Like I said, I'm gonna add some chicken stock to this here pretty soon. I really want this to be kind of almost syrup-like. So just a few more minutes here. All right, we are kind of at that syrup stage that I was mentioning. So now it's gonna be time to add our chicken stock, which is, at this point, better than bouillon. Yeah, fight me, I don't have real chicken stock. From scratch, you'll get over it. So in we go with this. I'm not gonna use all of it. I probably put maybe half a cup in there. And gonna let this reduce again. And once it's ready, I'm actually gonna strain it because as you can see, there's all these brown bits in here and I don't exactly want that in my sauce. And now we'll reduce again. Also, just real quick, here is our chicken thighs. They should be almost done. I'll take them out, temp them in just a little bit, and we'll go from there. What I want is for this to be thick enough and reduced that when I drag my spoon across, you'll see like a pretty solid line that stays behind. All right, so it's been a few minutes since my last update. I'm gonna drag my spoon and you can start to see just a little bit of a line hanging out behind. We're almost there. Strain it, put some butter and garlic in, we'll be good to go. We're right where I want us to be. See, we got a line that stays behind. So what I'm gonna do is strain this, add my garlic, and we'll be fine. The sauce is really, really reduced. So I'm gonna add my garlic, a little tab of butter. So the butter is gonna melt in there, kind of emulsify just a little bit. All right, it's time to grab the star of the show. Look at those. It's not exactly something you're gonna get by doing just in the stove. All right, don't mind all the mess in the background. My house is lived in, get over it. Time to plate. So we're gonna take our chicken thigh out and look and listen. Oh, that's crispy. I'm gonna put a smear of this sauce just around like so. It is kind of ugly. I am not a professional, but there it is. And we have Riley, our residential beggar. I'm actually gonna clean this up just a little bit, like the chefs do. I think they take a paper towel and they really didn't make it look any better, but whatever. I brought some flat leaf parsley, I think that's what this is, over, and I guess I'm gonna put one. I think things look better in threes. So 2 and 3, and there we have it. Crispy skin chicken thigh with a red wine reduction sauce. Not bad.